right now, and then
Well, it's the it's item 12A, where it notes that we received for information, and in fact,
our council meeting of June 1st to order, and we'll begin with the land acknowledgement statement. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples, acknowledging the One Bowl and Spoon Treaty. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Okay, seeing none. Mayor's announcements. Please note meetings are being broadcast live and recorded and made available through the Township website and youtube.com. Our flags at Town Hall were lowered yesterday in honor of the 215 children who were recently found in a mass grave at a former residential school in Kamloops. The flags will remain at half-mast for 1 hour for each of the lives that were taken, remaining at half-mast until June the 8th. Our next regular meeting of council will be held Tuesday, June 22nd, 7 p.m. Next regular Police Services Board meeting, regional council meetings will both be held Thursday, June 24th. And I'd just also like to note that tomorrow is the opening day of the Wainfleet Market from 2:30 to 6:30, and encourage everyone to come out and support our local Wainfleet Market. Are there any comments or information that any councillors would like to present? Councillor Cridlin.
thank you. Just two notes through you, Mayor. The MPCA board meeting next is Friday, June 18th, and the steering committee meeting is next on June 22nd at 9:30. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. Moving on to adoption of our previous council minutes. Minutes of the regular council meeting held May the 11th, 2021. Councillor Cridlin, you had some concerns? Go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I'd just like the minutes to reflect a small change on item 12A. Just to add to that, and staff were also directed to write a letter to the region. So if the record could please be amended. Thank you.
Okay, staff will note that for correction. Any other comments on the minutes? Okay, seeing none, the motion that the minutes of regular council meeting as amended, May 11th, 2021, be adopted as circulated. Mover seconder for that, please. Councillor Cridlin and Councillor McClellan. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, and recorded vote. Councillor Cridlin.
Sorry, in favor.
Councillor McClellan.
In favor.
Councillor Gilmore.
Favor.
Councillor Van Vliet.
In favor.
Thank you, and I'm in favor. That is carried. We now move into delegations. Stephen Seuss has submitted a delegation request to make a presentation to call on the House of Commons to launch a study into the Standing Committee on Health. And I'll now call upon Mr. Seuss to present to Council. And Mr. Seuss, we've had you before. You know you have 10 minutes. So go ahead, the floor is yours.
Thank you for your indulgence, Chair, and I just want to say it's nice to see everyone again, even if it is virtually. I'm presenting on Petition E3351. This is a petition that I authored that the Standing Committee on Health federally launch a study on the merits of declaring a national emergency. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly read the petition. Usually I have this up a lot faster. Whereas several provinces have declared emergencies on various circumstances over time, whereas Canada is allowed to declare national emergencies under the Emergencies Act 1985, whereas approximately 1 in 5 Canadians will experience a mental health problem or illness, whereas the economic burden of mental illness in Canada is estimated at $51 billion per year, including healthcare costs, lost productivity, and reductions in health-related quality of life. That's according to CAMH. Whereas not addressing mental health issues and illness is costly in the long term to Canada's economy. And whereas according to a recent Morneau-Shepherd poll, 50% of Canadians reported that their mental health has worsened with the COVID-19 pandemic, with mental health-related hospitalizations, crisis line use, and addiction rates skyrocketing. We, the undersigned citizens of Canada, call upon the House of Commons to launch a study in the Standing Committee on Health on the merits of declaring a national emergency on mental health. Basically, Council, the essence of this petition is that I don't want to let any of the upper tier governments get off the hook with this one. 11 out of 12 of Niagara's area municipalities voted unanimously to declare a mental health, homelessness, and addiction emergency. I am simply bringing it to the federal level because it all boils down from there. Federal government is in charge of healthcare transfers to the province, and then the domino effect goes from the federal government. The petition is being supported by the Member of Parliament for Niagara West, which also incorporates Wainfleet, Dean Allison. I'm proud to have his support. And so far, the Township of Pelham, the Township of West Lincoln, the City of Thorold, and the City of St. Catharines have unanimously voted to endorse the petition, which I'm extremely proud of. I personally live with anxiety and depression. I have my own lived experience. I work in the system as a developmental services worker, and I can tell you that this is an emergency. If we go down to the Niagara stats, 9% per 100. I'm sorry. Sometimes I get tongue-tied. It doesn't have to happen often. Over 9% per 100,000 is the rate of suicide in Niagara, compared to the provincial average of 7.7 per 100,000. That's the Statistics Canada rate. 14% of post-secondary students in Niagara have reported that they've seriously considered suicide, and that's regional stats. It can be found there. Hospitalizations in McMaster Hospital, which is very close to home, have tripled for young people in crisis, and kids' help phone use has shot through the roof. 1.9 million pre-pandemic, 4 million during the pandemic. I can rattle off stats all day here, but I think we all understand that this is an emergency. But I want to leave you with this, Council. I want to leave you with the 3 S's. supporting the petition, signing the petition, and sharing the petition. We need to get the word out on this. We need to build awareness for this. And I would ask for your help tonight in doing that. This is one of the first steps. And I hope that the town clerk will be kind enough to distribute the petition to all of you post-meeting. And anyone else listening, please take the time to sign the petition. It will take 30 seconds out of your day. Chair, I yield the floor, and I thank you for allowing me this time. And now I will be happy to answer any questions that the councilors may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seuss. And are there any questions or comments on this presentation? Councillor Cridland.
Again, I'll just also echo the mayor's thank you for this presentation.
Okay. Any questions or comments of Mr. Seuss? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Seuss. Good presentation and good to see you again.
Yes,
is there a motion coming from this that anybody would like to forward a motion or bring forth a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I did submit something in writing as the motion that has been moved amongst the other municipalities. So I trust that the clerks receive that. And if not, I can send it over to the clerk quickly.
Is that in your action requested section?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I can read that then.
Yes.
That Wainfleet Town Council endorsed Petition E3351, and that the Prime Minister of Canada, the Federal Minister of Health, the members of the Federal Standing Committee on Health, the Premier of Ontario, the President of AMO, Niagara Area MPs, MPPs, and all Niagara Area municipalities be copied on the resolution.
Yes, and that's including the region, Mr. Chair.
Okay, a mover and a seconder for that, please. Moved by Councillor Van Vliet, seconded by Councillor McClellan. Is there any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll vote on this. Councillor Van Vliet.
In favor.
Councillor Gilmore.
Favor.
Councillor McClellan.
In favor.
Councillor Cridland.
In favor?
And I am in favor. So you have unanimous support on this motion, Mr. Seuss. Thank you very much, and good to see you again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Council, for your indulgence.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we move on to staff reports and recommendations, and we'll begin with our CAO's report, COVID-19 impact report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to Council. This report serves to update Council on the most recent information on the status of the COVID emergency that exists within Wainfleet, the region, the province, and across the country and the world. At this stage, I won't spend a lot of time reviewing the information contained in the report regarding the current plans from the province to implement a roadmap to reopen, which was released the previous week. But I will advise that we did receive some correspondence from the Ministry of the Solicitor General today. A copy of that was circulated to members of Council, just confirming that the stay-at-home order that is currently in place is set to expire tomorrow on June 2nd. And again, for clarification, that stay-at-home order is Regulation 265/21, which is actually attached to the report for everyone's information. Notwithstanding the regulation expiring, all other existing measures currently in place will remain in place throughout the province, including restrictions on gatherings, businesses, services, and activities. This includes limiting indoor gatherings to households only and outdoor gatherings to up to 5 people, subject to limited exceptions, maintaining a cap of 25% capacity for essential retail where only certain goods are permitted to be sold, restricting non-essential retail to curbside pickup and delivery only, as well as limiting short-term rentals to individuals. These types of restrictions will remain in effect until the province enters step 1 of the new roadmap, which is currently scheduled to occur on June 14th. Until then, Ontarians will be able to leave home to travel within the province. However, they are not permitted to host members of other households indoors except for a person from another household who lives alone or who is a caregiver. So there is sort of breaking information that we're still evaluating, but the current roadmap to recovery is slowly coming closer to fruition, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel with things opening up a bit as the month progresses. The other element of the report that I'd like to bring to everyone's attention is some correspondence that we received from the from the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority with respect to some of their plans to address concerns that have been raised, particularly with respect to the Wainfleet Wetlands Conservation Area. Again, to high-level summary, the NPCA is proposing new site signage, an immediate expansion of the existing parking lot located at the northerly limits of the property, the addition of portable washrooms, again, at that expanded parking site to the north, the installation of fencing and pump barriers in the vicinity of Quarry Road and accesses to the property off Quarry Road, the installation of additional garbage receptacles throughout the property, as well as enhanced enforcement to address some of the issues that have been reported at the site. In addition to these sort of initial implementations, the NPCA is also looking at longer-term improvements to the area, which unfortunately won't necessarily be able to occur this year, but will occur over the coming in the coming future. And again, it's all based on some of the comments and feedback that were received from a public consultation questionnaire that the NPCA sort of initiated earlier this year. As part of the response to the issues at the quarry, the NPCA is also proposing that we make some amendments to parking regulations along Quarry Road. And to that effect, staff have prepared a draft bylaw to essentially eliminate some of the parking areas that were previously permitted on Quarry Road in order to try and tie in our response with that of the NPCA. And a copy of that bylaw is actually appended to your agenda this evening as bylaw number 20/2021. That summarizes the COVID report at this time. If anyone has any questions, I'll try to respond to that.
Okay, thank you. We'll put a motion on the floor first that the admin staff report ASR 015-2021 respecting COVID-19 impact report be received as information, and that the township's parking bylaw be amended to eliminate on-street parking on Quarry Road in the vicinity of the Wainfleet Wetlands Conservation Area as outlined in the report. A mover and a seconder to put that on the floor for discussion. Councillor McClellan moves it, and seconds it is Councillor Cridlin. Any discussion or comments? Councillor Van Vliet.
Thanks for the report, Will. I have a couple questions. During the long weekend, I drove down the quarry just to check it out. I'm sure everybody else did as well. When I was there was a lot of people there. There was open alcohol. There was an active beer pong game happening. I called our bylaw officer immediately. He called NRP. And I stuck around and I did not see not one person from the NPCA there, like monitoring it. And it was crazy. There was kids walking up the road with open alcohol, like actual LCBO bags. It was chaos. And I don't believe these are people from Wainfleet. I've talked to a lot of the younger crowd and they've been avoiding the quarry because of what's been happening. And I think what the MPCA is proposing here to do seems like they're trying to open it up a little bit more to have more people go there. And the people in Wainfleet are saying, no, we don't want that. So I don't understand their survey. I mean, the results, there was only 300 people who did the survey. I was one of them. I just don't think it's something Wainfleet residents want. I don't think they want more people at the quarry.
Go ahead, Will.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. One of the things, and again, staff have had a number of meetings with staff from the NPCA, and one of the things that we did talk about was having the NPCA actually attend a future meeting of council to sort of speak to the site, some of the perhaps longer term goals and plans, as well as present information not only on their vision for the quarry moving forward, but sort of the entire sort of plan, if you will, for Lakeshore. So we do have that in the books and in sort of in the plans, and they will be appearing at a future meeting. Again, I think a lot of the sort of information that you see in the package that came from the NPCA that's appended to this report really demonstrates the sort of feedback that they received through the surveys. And what they are trying to do is, again, work cooperatively, again, with the township, with the Niagara Regional Police, in trying to sort of bring the some sort of structure, if you will, to that site, so that anything that's happening is sort of maintained on site, is going to be controlled ultimately in accordance with their rules and their guidelines for all facilities that the NPCA owns and maintains. And this is sort of the sort of first step, if you will, of moving towards that.
Councillor Van Vliet.
I can continue. I appreciate that, Will. There's a but here, but we've been listening to the same story since before four of us were on council. And I mean, the first thing had like what they brought to council a few years ago of the big plans they had, nothing happened there. And then when we had a meeting with them in 2020, beginning of 2020 or 2019, I can't remember the exact date, we voiced our concerns there and they haven't been addressed. And a few members on council wanted to actively be in discussions with the NPCA, and I don't see that they were invited to the meeting with staff. So I'm just wondering if we could like open it up and be a part of the discussion.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and to council, but by all means, I think we need to move in that direction, and it's only through engaging that we can do that. So if we will take that and go back and try to make that coordinated effort as soon as we can.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor McClellan.
Yeah, so just a second, what Councillor Van Vliet said, I know I personally asked to go to that meeting and never was notified of it or never was asked to attend. So there's a problem there.
Bearing in mind, though, of course, that we can only have one councillor attend if I'm attending, so it's obviously an issue in that sense, that we don't have an official meeting with three of us there. So that's always an issue that we have to discuss. So
the night that they presented to us, I was the only one that said we wanted to go, and I still never got invited, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, noted. We've had one meeting, I think. I recognize you, Councillor Cridlin. I'll just make a comment here. We've had, I think, one meeting with them, I think, where I've been involved, and it was discussion around controlling the chaos that is down there. And then they came back to us with this plan that they would create, as Will said, more structure so it's more controlled, which is the extra parking area, putting up some extra fencing and that sort of thing. So that's in its infancy, of course, and we can look at that and discuss that further. But that's where that discussion came from, is when we met and we said, well, somehow we have to start to control the chaos, and there has to be some structure involved here, because, you know, I don't think you're going to stop people from coming there. So we need to control it as opposed to just let it go the way it's been going. So that's where that has come from. So, Councillor Cridland.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Just in terms of the parking, so in terms of the timing, I may have missed this in the bylaw notes, so I apologize, but are we going to coordinate the shutting down of the quarry spots? And I would be interested to know how many spots that's going to take away, because again, you know, I don't think we're opening it up more yet if we net out the parking spots, but it is good for the public to know that it's not growing. So I would be interested to know how many spots that are, if we have even a rough estimate. Probably Councillor McClellan can do that in his head, but and I know the report does suggest, you know, the kinds of numbers that they're planning for. So I would like to see that coordinated where, you know, the takeaway and the new parking is sort of lined up, if that can happen, as opposed to, you know, so thank you. I see the CAO. Great, thanks.
Through Mr. Mayor to Council. So really, by eliminating the parking, what we're essentially doing is on the east side of Quarry Road, in the vicinity of the bridge, there's some angled parking. So I believe it's around 7 or 8 spots. And really the rest of the road is currently no parking, no stopping. So frankly, we're eliminating approximately 7 or 8 spots angled, depending on how people squeeze in there. So it's not a huge decrease, but it is intended to sort of address some of the people that sort of enter off of Quarry. The parking lot to the north, again, I apologize, I don't recall off the top of my head the number of spaces, but work on that site has already commenced. And I mean, by the time this bylaw gets through, by the time we assemble inventories of signs to be posted, we believe that they'll coincide quite nicely between the time the new spots open up to the north and the spots on Quarry Road are sort of diminished if the bylaw goes through.
Okay. Anything further, Councillor Cridland?
No, thank you.
Okay, Councillor McClellan.
Yeah, so I don't think we got the answer that was asked. So there's 7 or 8 that are going to be eliminated. Do we know how many are going to be added at the north end? I think was the question.
I think it's 25, if I recall reading.
Actually, I that number was popping into my head as well. So
Yeah.
say 25.
Yeah.
In
So
the
there'll be a net increase of somewhere between 15 and 17 parking spots. Okay.
Anything further, Councillor McClellan?
No, I'm good.
Okay, anyone else? Do we want to look at the second part of that motion as I presented it there and remove that? Or have it send it back for further work? Township's bylaw be amended to eliminate street parking Quarry Road in the vicinity of the Wainfleet Wetland Conservation Area as outlined in the report? Or is everyone happy with that? Or do you want another report on that from staff? No? Everybody's okay?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay, Councillor Van Vliet, everybody's good?
Yeah, we're just making more room for people. That's what we're doing. So.
But we are taking cars off the side of the road, which is a clutter.
Yeah.
The ultimate goal is controlled structure as opposed to just every. That's what we're trying to achieve. So.
And it's at the north end, so it keeps them a little bit further away from the beach end, and I get all that. So.
Okay, so if there's no further questions or discussion, I have a recorded vote. Councillor Cridland in favor or opposed?
In favor.
Councillor McClellan?
In favor.
Councillor Gilmore?
Favor.
Councillor Van Vliet?
In favor.
And I'm in favor. That is carried. We're moving on to our property tax rates. Ms. Louie, would you like to give a brief presentation on that, please?
Sure. So through the mayor to all of council,
Admin Staff Report 16 is a routine report to adopt the tax rates for final billing. So this sets the rates for all of the tax classes, which is used to generate the final tax bills. And it's calculated using the approved budget amount, the assessed values, the tax ratios and subclass reductions, which are set by the region, and the region and education rates. So just for comparative purposes, the total residential rate has increased 3.5% from last year. I'd be happy to answer any questions if any members of council have any.
Okay, we'll put the motion on the floor first. Admin Staff Report ASR 16-2021 respecting 2021 property tax rates be received, and that council consider the bylaw attached to this report as Appendix A to provide for final property tax rates for the 2021 taxation year at the May 11th, 2021 regular meeting of council. Mover seconder for that, please. Councillor McClellan and Councillor Gilmore, and discussion, please. Questions, discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll have a recorded vote. In favor or opposed, Councillor Cridland?
In favor.
Councillor McClellan?
In favor.
Councillor Gilmore?
Favor.
Councillor Van Vliet?
In favor.
And that is carried. Thank you very much, Ms. Louie. And we're moving on to Public Works Report 11-2021 Sign Reflectivity Study, and we'll look to Mr. Nan to speak to that, please.
To your worship, to members of council, in front of you is a report in regards to a reflectivity study that was performed by an outside contractor to basically inventory our entire sign capacities and all our assets on our roadways. We were actually pleased with the results. In a lot of cases, when they go in and do their first examinations on communities like ours, they expected to have 1,000 signs, and in our case, obviously there was a lot more than 1,000 signs. My staff, I have to be commended for the fact that we only had a very low fail rating. For the fact that they were doing it strictly by eye or the manual inspection method as compared to the methods that are used in this report. As like I said in the report, the assessment itself reviewed 5 separate different conditions. The overall condition, reflectivity, contract ratio, the required high intensity sheeting, as well as the sign condition rating. So they did a thorough examination as well as a thorough inventory of all our signs and their locations. And we actually have a great documentation that staff will be able to utilize moving forward. We will be implementing a program for the replacements of these, the various deficiencies based on priorities, obviously. And then we'll continue to move on that method. Additionally, staff will be looking into for future some software that could potentially be used for ongoing reflectivity monitoring for us, as well as being able to utilize the same software for road patrol software, and work order software, various things to try and save staff time in manual documentation.
Okay, thank you. So, motion that the Public Works Staff Report respecting sign reflectivity study be received for information. Mover and seconder on that, please. Councillor McClellan and Councillor Gilmore, moved and seconded. And discussion, questions of Richard on our signs. Councillor McClellan.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Nan. Of the signs that received a fail, what's our timelines to get them replaced? Some of them were warning signs. The majority of them were warning signs. What do we have, like 2 years, 5 years, a year, 6 months? What's the timeline on that?
Through your worship, to members of council and Councillor McClellan. Currently, the only priority signs that we are required to repair immediately are the regulatory ones. The ones, for instance, stop signs. As soon as we're familiar with it, we have to replace them. But the warning signs, we do have a time frame, and it's usually within a year or two, depending on the actual state of it. So it may not meet one of the criteria, but it may have passed in one of the others. I couldn't share the actual spreadsheet with you because it's a massive spreadsheet, if you know what I mean. But it could have failed in one category, like the reflectivity, but it could have passed in the other 4 categories. So we do have some extended time frames that we can replace it, and we should be able to replace them, obviously, as we go through our budget process, and we may have to increase slightly in our assigned budget to get it done. But we will be able to implement the majority of the reflectivity and the regulatory ones this year in our existing assigned budget, and then we'll be able to afford to save up some money and process as we move forward in future budgets.
Thank you, sir.
Follow up, Councilor McClellan, you're good?
No, I'm good.
Okay, anyone else? Questions, comments? Okay, it's on the floor. The motion to receive the report, opposed or in favor. Councillor Van Vliet.
In favor.
Councillor Gilmore.
Favor.
Councillor McClellan.
In favor.
Councillor Cridland.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. That report is received. Okay, carrying on with Mr. Nan, reconstruction of Marshville Drive, please.
Through your worship, 2 members of council, in front of you this evening is a report that wasn't a planned report. It was out of a necessity to bring it to council's attention. As you're well aware, SAW Development is constructing a new subdivision on Marshville Drive. And through my various inspections during the process of installing their primary services and the road construction, I did notice that Marshville Drive was deteriorating rapidly, the existing portion which the township owns. And I had the opportunity to be there the day they actually did a tie-in from the new subdivision roadbed to the existing roadbed. I was pretty disappointed in the fact that we didn't have much of a road base there. And there's obviously the reason why the road is falling apart is because of the construction method that was used at the time. We did discuss potentially in the development agreement, it says that obviously the township is responsible for the Marshville Drive portion of the existing roadway. And the Marshville Drive, the SAW Development Corporation is rapidly developing in there. And they were actually planning on an occupancy in the one house by August. So they're planning on doing asphalt work, obviously, around the time of the occupancy. But staff are concerned that the roadbed itself during the rest of the construction will deteriorate to the point where we'll be forced to do something. So we have an opportunity at this point to do it before they've actually laid the asphalt work on their portion as well. So we're bringing it to council's attention to reconstruct our portion so that at the time of when they lay their asphalt, we can actually have a proper road base throughout the entire subdivision, not just the new section as compared to the old section. Now, normally, council or staff do recommend that we do the proper procurement policy and go to tender for competitive pricing. At this time, staff, we reviewed several things during our deliberation about it, because things like the existing SAW Development, for instance, has the existing survey work done, the existing engineering work done for the actual intersections that we'll be able to utilize without additional costing. I'm always leery in the construction industry, and Councillor McClellan can attest to this. You try to keep contractors out of each other's work areas. And in this case, we would actually, if we went out to tender, we would have abutting contractors, basically at the same construction site limits. If you can understand what that means, basically one limit starts and then the other one begins. Marshville is a single entrance into that property. So as we are excavating and trying to construct Marshville Drive, the original section, we'd have a lot of coordination that we'd have to consider with the existing saw development, trucks, equipment, deliveries, to try and coordinate at the same time as trying to excavate the road and protect the road as well. So we've had some discussions with them about it. They would be interested in helping us out, and then of course we would save some money on like I said, existing survey work, existing engineering work. They wouldn't have to mobilize because they already have all their equipment there. So staff are recommending at this point that council award saw development to complete the reconstruction for the existing Marshville Drive.
Okay, thank you, Richard. So the recommended motion is that Public Works Staff Report 12/2021 be received, and that council direct the Manager of Operations to proceed with the reconstruction of Marshville Drive and engaging Saw Development Incorporated to complete the project. A mover seconder to put this on the floor for discussion. Councillor McClellan and Councillor Cridlin. Okay, and discussion, please. Councillor McClellan.
Yeah, as I recall, our upset limit for just handing out work is $25,000. As far as I'm concerned, it should go to tender. Let's hope Saw Development is the low bidder, but it should go to tender so the public knows they got what they paid for. You can definitely do that with two contractors in there. You'll dig out half the road at a time and go up and do one strip and then come back and do the other. You can maintain traffic. It happens every day. It's not a big deal, but it just doesn't look good handing out a $113,000 contract in my eyes.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McClellan. Any other comments or discussion? Councillor Cridlin, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, maybe just comment again on any timing issues. I'm inclined to agree with what Councillor McClellan is recommending. And, unless there's something we're missing on a timing issue, I don't even think I think I would still rather support going through the steps. And like Councillor McClellan mentioned, it ends up probably being the same person, but it's all been done through the procedures. So if you could just comment on the timing and the risk, perhaps that would be great.
Yeah, no, thank you, through your worship, to Councillor Clearly. At this point, we wouldn't be able to go to tender immediately. We would have to perform our own survey work and engineering work to prepare it all for the tender package. So that'll delay it probably about a month or so. And then the tendering process itself. We would have to consider allowing the subdivision their occupancy, even though our section of the road won't be constructed by then, because by the time we do the survey work, the engineering work, go to tender, we'll be past where they're conceivably having occupancy in one of their houses. So we would have to ensure that they would be allowed to have the occupancy, even though our portion of the road is constructed properly. But we could go through that process, and it'll still be able to get performed this year. It'll just be a couple of months away.
Okay, any follow-up, Councillor Cridlin?
No, thank you. That does add to us making our final decision. So thank you for that.
Okay, Councillor Van Vliet, what was your hand up, please?
Thank you. Yeah, Rich, I have a question. How much would we be saving if we went with Saw Development, because they've already done the engineering and all the other reports? So would we be saving money going with them because we have to do our own engineering report and whatever, the other report?
I did reach out to the engineering firm to see if they'd be willing to share the information and the existing work that was already done, but they were unwilling to do that due to a conflict of interest. Survey work, I've asked our local surveyor to do some survey work, and they're about a month behind now, doing a bunch of work. They obviously will try and push to have that done. And then I would have to engage a separate engineer to do the work. I think the engineering, we may save a few $1,000s if we went with the existing one. But at this point, I don't have estimates for the engineering costs at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Is that going to, if we go to tender on that, if we amend this, go to tender, is that going to interrupt or cause timing issues with them carrying on construction?
I mean, ideally, sorry, Your Worship, to yourself. Ideally, I would prefer to have the asphalt laid in one course. I would prefer not to have them complete their primary services, which is a requirement to get their occupancy for that single house. So they would literally be laying their asphalt down, and then we would come in afterwards and lay a second layer up to their grade. Let's put it that way. So we would have a joint instead of a consistent mat, but it doesn't really affect much as long as we allow them their occupancy and let them finish their primary services so they can have their occupancy.
Okay. Will, is there going to be any issues with that caveat of not everything's completed, but we allow them the occupancy regardless?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't believe so. I think, again, as Councilor McClellan indicated, there are frequently times when you have sort of multiple contractors working in an area. There is simply some convenience and some economies that might be achieved by having one contractor who's already on site doing sort of both sides of the project, but it should still be not a problem.
Okay, thank you, Councilor McClellan.
Well, I was going to say there's cold joints all the time in base asphalt, and when they pull out the stretch that goes into Marshville Saws development, Marshville Road goes straight. There's going to be a cold joint there anyway, no matter what you do when they pave it. So that's a non-issue, right?
Okay. Is there any other questions? So somebody wants to make an amendment motion to what I read, because I read the recommended option by staff as number 2 in the report, and it looks like we want number 3 to go to a tender process. So somebody wishes to make that motion for amendment?
I just have one more question for Richard, Mayor, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Richard, so if we go ahead with option 2, then we're going to use his engineers and his survey information. But if we go to tender, we're going to use our own. Do I understand you correctly that if we would go ahead and authorize waive of procedure, we'd be using someone else's engineering and survey information versus our own? Do I understand that right?
Through your worship to Councillor Gilmore. Yes, the engineering would obviously meet our standards because the subdivision itself and the drawings that were submitted with the subdivision met the municipal standards and the road construction standards. They picked up the intersection of Marshville to begin with, and they showed on their drawings, obviously as part of their site plan approvals, the intersections and everything else. So they've literally surveyed the entire portion, including the town's portion. But I would have to get our own survey work done because they weren't willing to actually share their electronic data so we can have the engineering done quicker and easier.
Okay, just to follow up then, why wouldn't we in the tender then just make it a requirement that everybody provide their own engineering and surveys, and then let it run its course? And then if maybe who knows, maybe no one is gonna want to do that.
Normally, and John could probably attest to this. Normally, you try to have all that done ahead of time, so you don't miss anything when you write tenders. You're asking them to do some legwork that should be done on our planning process, and you could end up. I mean, we could say to use OPS standards. We could say to use the official drawings, etc. But you could end up with very different outcomes from some developers. I mean, if you're going to tell them you want the ditches to this grade and you want the base to this and you want this much the stone anyways, you might as well complete the entire tender package and take away some of those questionable calls that contractors could use.
Okay, further, Councillor Gilmore, any more?
Well, it's just I'm still conflicted because you know, we didn't do that in the case. If we go ahead with option 2, then we're just assuming that the engineer has done what we want him to do without providing him with the information, if he's already got the work done that we didn't know we needed to do. So yeah, I don't know. I think we're like I understand the concept, and to some extent I agree that it's probably maybe the smart thing to do, but I concur with Councillor McClellan that it doesn't. We have procedures for a reason. We should stick to them.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McClellan. Further comment?
So if I can, and I haven't seen the plans, but my understanding of it would be they would have picked up the invert of the culvert on Marshfield Drive on the side where they go into saw developments. I highly doubt they went to so that's the north side. I highly doubt they went to the south side and picked up the culvert or the ditch inverts and inlets and followed that through till it hit Highway 3 or the MTO's ditch there. There would be no reason for them. All they would care about is where they tie in and the ditch flows properly. So I think they probably have about a quarter of the engineering done. You know, we need to get the rest of the ditches put in with a grade. We need to say that we want 16 inches, 18 inches, 24 inches of stone in there, compacted to 95 or 98% compaction. And then we're looking for the asphalt on it. I don't, to me, go with the tender package, and hopefully they're cheap and they get the job, and that's okay. I don't have any ill will to them. Our process is 25 grand. Let's stick to it.
Okay, so Councillor McClellan, would you like to make that amendment to the motion that we go with option 3?
Yes, that we go with option 3. We stick with our tendering process and follow through from there.
Okay, so we just need to vote on the amendment, just the amendment to this?
Yes,
Mr.
Well,
Mayor, you need a seconder for that as well.
Seconder, right? Thank you. Moved by Councillor Gilmore, seconded by.
John moved it. I'll second it.
Moved, second, right. Okay. Any discussion on that amendment? Okay, in favor or opposed to the amendment? Councillor Cridlin.
In favor?
Councillor McClellan.
In favor.
Councillor Gilmore.
Favor.
And Councillor Van Vliet.
In favor.
And I am in favor. Okay, and so now we will vote on the motion as amended, choosing option 3. Any other discussion on that?
Just a point of order. We didn't really amend the motion. We just made a different selection. So.
Yeah, but I read it as a motion earlier, so we had to.
Okay, well, all right.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, so as amended, in favor or opposed, Councillor Cridlin.
In favor?
Councillor McClellan.
In favor.
Councillor Gilmore.
Favor.
Councillor Van Vliet.
In favor.
Okay, and that is carried. I'm in favor as well. Okay, Mr. Nan again on the town hall roof.
Thank you, Worship. In front of you presently is staff report 013-2021. It's in regarding the second RFQ we put out for the town hall roof replacement. As council's aware, the initial RFQ that was put out, we were looking for obviously a longevity. So town staff, we were going after a steel roofing. Unfortunately, due to prices of steel, due to COVID and supply and demand, basically, the quotes came in much higher than what anticipated. So we went back out for an RFQ as per council's directions. and we investigated two separate products. One was called Euro Shield, and the other was called Enviro Shake. They're both a newer type of product. Well, newer. I mean, they've been in the business for well over 22 years. But they're a sustainable product. They're not an asphalt shingle. One is a rubberized roofing, which is the Euro Shield. It's actually manufactured in Canada, in Calgary. They've been in business for 22 years. Again, a 50-year warranty. Independent lab test from the Canadian Council shows it as an impact rating of a Class 4 impact rating. So it's designed to take hail, which apparently is prevalent in places like Calgary where it was invented. It's also got a Class C fire rating, and it's wind tested up to 160 miles per hour. The second product was a composite roofing. So that was very similar, 50-year warranty, lab tested separately for longevity, as well as impact rating and fire rating. We did manage to get 4 bids, and out of the 4 bids, it was interesting this time because we actually had 2 from each company, or two installers from each company bid. So we did get 2 from each product. And these were certified contractors by the company itself in order to get the 50-year warranty. Stoll Construction, even though they're not the company, the installer's company, they will be subbing it to Dykstra Roofing out of Beamsville, which is the certified company, or from the manufacturer. So in front of you, you'll see that we have received 4 bids, ranging from $203,000 to $102,000. I was concerned by the low bid, so I did contact the bidder to ensure that the numbers were correct. They reviewed it, came back and said those numbers are correct. So in front of you is our recommendation to go with to award it to Stoll Construction for the installation of the Euro Shield roofing.
Okay, thank you. So a potential motion being that Public Works Staff 13-2021 respecting award for the replacement of the Town Hall Council Chambers roof be received, and that Council authorize the Manager of Operations to award the tender for the replacement of the Town Hall and Council Chambers roof to Stoll Construction Limited. Mover, seconder for that, please, for discussion. Councilor McClellan and Councilor Cridland, and discussion. Questions? Councilor McClellan.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Nan. I'm just wondering, did you make any calls to anybody that has this installed on and or installed by Dykstra / Stoll Construction?
Through your worship, to Councilor McClellan, I did reach out to, as mentioned in the previous report, some of the winery estates, Pillar Estates. I talked to their maintenance person there. He was ecstatic with the product. One of the manufacturers actually listed University of Toronto. I reached out to them as well, and they were quite happy with the product. I did reach out to a few other places, but obviously didn't get a response back. But I did reach out to there were several homeowners. I wasn't really trying to get a homeowner. I was trying to get businesses. Mm-hmm. But the winery estates was really quite happy. I did receive an email from the Department of Defense. They used it at one of their armories, and they were quite satisfied with the product. It was installed about 10 years ago as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion or questions? Councilor Gilmore.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Richard. Are they going to put, for lack of a better term, ice and water over the whole roof before they install these?
Through your worship, to Councilor Gilmore, the tender package that we put out did call for waterproofing of the entire roof surface, as well as the dormers, like the dormer walls. So as the roofing comes up the dormers, we'll be waterproofing right up the sides of the dormers as well, and resheeting the dormers. Additionally, we'll be putting new flashing. Obviously, we'll be tearing the old stuff out because we're getting, as the mayor wakes up in the morning and hears the chirping, we've actually got birds entering into our attic through one of those dormer flashings right now. So It wasn't installed right, and we're getting gaps. So we decided to put in the tender to waterproof the entire thing, top to bottom, and right up the walls as well of of all the dormers.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Cridlin, you're next.
Thank you. It's the only worry I have, as I'm not a roofer, is that it looks like it's too good to be true. And having listened to the other councillors, obviously that's not the case. And Richard's response, it's almost it's almost like let's get this done. It looks like we're going to have something a really good product for a really good price. So it's nice that we've circled around and got such a positive response. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And Councillor McLeod, you had your hand up
Oh,
again.
Just
Sorry.
one, I take it they are stripping the roof and then putting the waterproofing on it down? Yeah. Okay, just making sure.
That's a good question, because very often they roof over a roof, right? So that's,
No, usually with Cedar Shakes they don't, but I was just asking.
Go ahead, Richard.
Through your worship to John, yes, they are stripping the roof. We are actually putting all new flashing, all new drip edge. We're also going to be adding 6-inch eave trough instead of the 4-inch that we have now. New downspouts, new ridge vent, ridge capping. Like we're doing the entire process while we're doing it.
Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Van Vliet, you had a question as well, please.
I have two questions. The first one is, what's the timeline we're talking about? Will this be done this summer? Yes. Okay.
Sorry, through your worship to Councillor Van Vliet. Yes, I did put a time frame of completion in the tender. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring everything home with me. And for some reason, I can't even log onto my computer, so I'm losing my internet connection. But I believe it was October 30th was a completion date that we put in the tender. So it will be completed this summer. Obviously, in a scope of this size, they're obviously going to have to order the materials for this size roof in one, because the other thing I've asked for is a single shipment. So a single manufactured shipment. So you don't get any changes in the manufacturing as we're doing it. So they have to wait for one batch to come out that's large enough to do our entire roof system. They'll obviously have to ship it. We'll have to store it. Unfortunately, again, it's going to be a little bit of inconvenience for staff. We will have to vacate some parking while they're doing all the stripping, etc. I'm actually anticipating the roof to probably take the better part of a week to complete between stripping and getting everything put together.
Okay, Councillor Van Vliet, carry on.
Are they doing any other construction in there, or just the roof, like that one dormer? How do you say it? Dormer? Whatever. At the back? Yeah, the one that is useless that opens up to nothing. Is that stops leaking?
The dormers, unfortunately, we're going to keep the dormers, but we're going to get rid of the two skylights. The two skylights that go into the attic to provide light into the attic. We're going to eliminate those completely. We're going to seal them right off. But the dormers, we're planning on saving all them because they do enter into some of the offices as well for light, natural light into the offices.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Richard.
Councillor McCall.
Yeah, just one last question. And I read about this product, but I know we have a fairly steep pitch roof on the town hall. Do we need to worry about snow sliding or ice sliding the same as you do on a metal roof? Like, I don't know if this has granulars in it or if it's just smooth. It's textured but smooth, and will the ice build up and slide on it?
Richard.
Sorry, through your worship to Councillor McClellan. Yes, that's one thing I forgot to mention. We are putting snow guards. We're putting snow guards on the roof as well to protect it from the snow slides.
Yeah. Thank you. I just didn't want to fix cars next winter.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Motion's on the floor. It's moved, seconded, and now we'll have a vote in favor. Oh, I guess I have one question. Who's going to choose color? What color are we going with?
Oh, good one.
Black, I'm going to guess, but we should decide here what's available. And Richard?
Through your worship, the plan was to go with a gray because as you're standing a distance away, it actually looks like a faded cedar shingle when you're standing far enough away. So we were planning on going with a grayish color, not necessarily black.
So
And
you didn't want
that's actually the color that's kind of there now is the gray
Yes.
color.
Yeah.
It'd be very close to that.
And Mr. Mayor, through you, page 86 of 99 of the agenda demonstrates what the gray color looks like. You can see the 4 different options, pages 84 through, I think it's 87.
I apologize. I can't even open up my report.
No, it is.
I lost my connection.
Yeah. And
Well, the gray looks very much like our current shingles or shapes.
yep,
So
it does.
right on it. Okay. We'll now vote in favor or opposed to the motion. Councillor Cridland,
In favor?
Councillor McClellan,
In favor.
Councillor Gilmore,
Favor.
Councillor Van Vliet,
In favor.
and I'm in favor. That is carried. New roof coming to Town Hall. Okay, thank you very much, Richard, for your number of reports this evening. Very comprehensive. Thank you. We now move on to review of correspondence. Are there correspondence items that anybody would like to speak to? Councillor Cridland, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. There was so many that could be endorsed either from, sister townships like Port Colborne, things that are echoing. So I've made a list and I shared it with my co-counselors, and if agreeable, I would just list a few of these off as a block, and again, only if agreed to, and we would just pass them to endorse them or support them, and that's it. So procedurally, can I just read off the numbers of the correspondence? We'll start there, and then afterwards, the council can decide if they'd like to do them in a block.
Okay.
So I'll proceed to, there's 2 or 4 to do with delaying extending the date on the official plan review, 158, 159, 168, 173. Then there's a couple other ones. One is relating to seniors, 162, 169 about water, 170 from the NPCA, 171 supporting a emergency line, and that's it for the block.
Okay, and you had 2 blocks there. This is the one that you wish to move all these, that we support all these as a block.
That's correct, Mayor, if council so wishes.
Just that, Councilor McClellan. Will, do you have those recorded or do you need them repeated?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, very quickly, I do have those recorded. The OPA ones, I don't know if you want me to go through the detail of what each of them are, but perhaps if you do them, perhaps the first block can be dealing with simply the OPA ones. So we'll deal simply with support for delaying the adoption or implementation of a new official plan for the region.
Okay, and I'll go to Councillor McClellan first. He had his hand up for a question.
So 169, I believe I may have a conflict with that. So if you want to do them as blocks, just leave that one as a separate one so that I can declare a conflict and I can vote on the rest of them.
Okay.
Thank you, so that's fine.
Okay, well, so you have the motion basically drafted there? I don't have all the numbers, so I'm sorry.
Okay, I will try to repeat it. So we will do all of them at once, except for 169, and then 169 we'll deal with separately. So the motion would be that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wainfleet supports and endorses the recommendations from the various municipalities contained in items of correspondence number 158, 159, 168, 173, 162 regarding digitization services for seniors, 170 regarding the NPCA correspondence regarding trails, and 171 regarding support for the suicide and crisis prevention hotline.
Okay, so that motion, Councillor Cridlin, that is your motion. You're making that motion?
Yes, I'll move that. Thank you.
Okay, and the seconder for that, Councillor Van Vliet, seconds it. Any discussion on that block of items? Okay, seeing none, opposed or in favor of receiving all those items in block. Councillor Van Vliet,
In favor.
Councillor Gilmore,
In favor?
Councillor McClellan,
In favor.
and Councillor Cridlin.
In favor?
And I am in favor, so that is carried. Now we move on to item 169, which is the one that we omitted.
Mayor, I'll just interrupt then, and I'll just drop that one from correspondence for now. It doesn't warrant the conflict, etc. So I'll just drop pulling that one.
Okay, so Councillor Cridlin is dropping item 169 from the correspondence.
And then there were two on this other list. So I'm sorry it's so long, but it was just such a really good list of correspondence. Number 160 would be the next one I'd like to then bring forward, please. And that is from the Integrity Commissioner. And well, I guess I would like to really just share the good news story here for the public. He actually commends the work we've done as a council for the past 3 years. Not to jinx anything, but I think we can probably make it for the other 12 months. I just want to speak to this. It's really important. The savings I feel we have done with this effort jointly, none of us individually, it had to be a team, is an incredible savings for us to be able to redirect to the other things that we're able to accomplish. So I just want to thank my co-counsel for getting us here. It does then go on in the rest of the report, obviously to recommend that we still put money in the budget, which of course would be prudent to do. But then there's a plan that he outlines, and I'd like to make a move that to direct staff then to come back with a plan at an appropriate time in the future. So again, just to take from that report the items that we feel that we should just go forward with. So if I could make that motion.
Okay, Will, you've got that recorded?
I do.
Okay, the motion is made. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor McClellan, discussion? We have done very well. When you look around us, we've done extremely well in that sense. So I'm encouraged that we'll see the full term the same way. So, okay, so no other discussion in favor or opposed. Councillor Cridlin?
Favor?
Councillor McClellan?
In favor.
Councillor Gilmore?
Favor?
Councillor Van Vliet?
In favor.
And that is carried. I'm in favor as well. Okay, anything else there with correspondence, Councillor Cridlin?
Thank you, Mayor, through you. I did have one from a previous, the week before. It was 152. It's on Phragmites. I think what I would like to do is just endorse it. So that's one. It could have been put in the block, but this one might get just a tiny bit messier. I wouldn't mind calling on Richard for some help with this. The motion, and this might turn into a notice of motion, so I expect to be point of order if it's appropriate, where we take this template, so direct staff, endorse and then direct staff to make a template very, very similar to this one, that goes to our region and our local area municipalities and our conservation area. And it adds one dimension, because the other one is only, it looks like a county level. It doesn't have a region. So we would ask for this one ask and repeat it, but then ask it of the region. So what are the protocols for the region when they are dealing with Phragmites and the controls? So we will get back hopefully with this something from the region. So I'm going to need some help. So maybe Richard could talk to it a bit and see if I've got that clear enough for that to be simple enough to do it. The idea is that we're just writing something, and then if council decides, we would support that.
Thank you, Richard. Will, you had a
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I mean, prior to Richard, if Richard's prepared to talk, by all means. But I would suggest perhaps one way of doing it is that you can provide direction to staff, and we can return a sort of completed motion back to you at your next meeting that you could then consider adopting with just a simple, cover memo, just explaining this, rather than bogging down and trying to deal with it on the spot today.
okay. Would you like to make that referral to staff for research on that?
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
that is referred. Anything, I see, Councilman, in regards to the Phragmites, or I just want to carry on with Councillor Cridlin here. She has the floor in regards to other correspondence.
Thank you. That's all the correspondence. I'm not sure if I properly executed that last piece of business. I see the CAO nodding, so thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Correspondence. Go ahead.
I was just going to make a comment on that Phragmites. I know the MTO, if you drive along the highways of the Niagara region, they sprayed it all last year, killed it, and then went in and cut it and destroyed it. And the area is still dead, so it hasn't grown back. Whatever they used did a good job. But that was along all the highways, because it'll creep up and grow right through asphalt.
Okay, thank you. So if there's no other correspondence review, then that's it for correspondence. Okay. And we're moving on to our bylaws. So I'll read the motions here. Following bylaws to be read and passed this first day of June 2021. Bylaw number 19, 2021, being a bylaw to appoint a senior building inspector, deputy chief building official. Bylaw number 2021, being a bylaw to amend traffic and parking bylaw number 10, 2018. And bylaw number 21, 2021, being a bylaw to establish estimates and tax rates for the year 2021. A mover and a seconder for those three bylaws, please. Councillor McClellan, seconded by Councillor Gilmore. And discussion, please. Councillor McClellan.
I just have one as far as the bylaw for the deputy chief building official. Before I got the agenda, I didn't know the man's name. It would have been nice to get an email that said, hey, council, we're hiring this gentleman. It's coming through. Be a little nicer to be in the daylight than in the dark when you get this. But other than that, I have no problems.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McClellan. Any other discussion on that? Okay, seeing none. Did we move it yet? No. Did we move that?
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
no.
Did we get
Mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor McClellan and Councillor Gilmore right now. Okay. Any discussion? Finished? And now a vote. In favor or opposed? Councillor Van Vliet.
In favor.
Councillor Gilmore.
Favor.
Councillor McClellan.
in favor?
And Councillor Cridlin.
In favor.
And that is carried. Are there any notices of motion? Okay, seeing none, we have a council now move into closed session. And motions being for closed session, item under 239(2)BC of the Municipal Act 2001, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land, one item, a tax sale matter. And B, item under section 239(2)E of the Municipal Act 2001, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting municipality or local board, one item, a litigation matter. Mover and a seconder, please, to go into this. Councillor McClellan and Councillor Van Vliet. Opposed or in favor, going into close. Councillor Van Vliet.
In favor.
Councillor Gilmore.
Favor.
Councillor McClellan.
In favor.
And Councillor Cridlin.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. That is carried. We'll now move into closed session.